All right, we're back, and we should have all of our TIFF files that Capture One has created. It's still working on generating the previews. That's fine. We can close out of that. We can pull it back anytime if we want to, just to see the process. But it needs to generate the previews from the TIFF files, which you can see the previews here. But if we were to click on one, this has not been generated yet, so it's just a rough approximation. And then once Capture One goes through the process of creating the high-res preview, this would not be this blurry anymore. But for our purposes, we can continue on with our edits. If we look in the capture folder, we should see all of our TIFF files. So 142 TIFF files, right? Which is the same number as the 5 stars that our client had picked, 142 images. And now in this next step of the process for my editing, the way that I edit photos, I use an action that I've created. So I have an action I've created. I've worked with Elise a lot, so I have an action that I've created specifically for her. And this is just an action inside of Photoshop that runs, but I have it as a droplet. And so what I can do is I can take these images, drop it onto this. It'll open up Photoshop, save the file, and that way I get another base layer of edits that are consistent. Right? And this is going to be something else that takes a little bit of time to process. But what I want to do first is to test it on one file before I run them all through. Because, as I mentioned in an earlier video, it has been a little while since I've done a shoot, and I work with a lot of different software. So Capture One and Photoshop. If you're working with actions in Photoshop, you probably are familiar with how they can break a lot of times. And so I like to run just one through, just to see if it's going to work okay or if it's going to break at all. And if it does break, then we'll go through the process of fixing it. So let's see how this goes. Load up Photoshop. It'll load up the image. It'll run the action on the image. So reading the TIFF file now. And then running the action. So you should see it start building out some layers. I use some third-party software. So Luminar is one that I use to get, again, a base layer of edits done very quickly. Luminar has some great AI capabilities in it that I use as a plugin for Photoshop in my. That way I can use it in the actions. So loading this up. And again, this can take some time. I'll go ahead and pause the video until Luminar loads up. Okay, so I've waited for about 5 minutes and it stayed the same, which tells me there must be something wrong here. And again, this is something that happens a lot, especially if you're working with plugins and you got to fix them. So my first initial thought here is this is the first time I've ever tried to run this using the Photoshop beta. If you saw the splash screen when it launched, I'm using the latest version of Photoshop. It is in beta, so I'm guessing there might be something wrong with that beta connection, the beta software of Photoshop and Luminar. So let's come in here. I'm going to pull open my task manager here, and let's just go ahead and kill this. So I'm going to end this task, kill that, and then it's not going to be able to continue on. That's fine. We'll stop that. And let me come into my actions here. Okay, well, so I don't even have these actions loaded into the beta. So let's do this. I'm going to close out of this image. And let's not even use, this is still generating the previews. Let's not even use the beta. So I'm going to pull open Creative Cloud and uninstall the beta if it shows up on here. I don't remember if it shows up on here or not. No, this is not the beta version. Okay, so let me open up my system. go to my apps. And the Photoshop beta, we'll go ahead and uninstall that. Okay. Let that remove. That's fine. Remove the beta. I guess it was in there somewhere. I didn't see it. That's fine. Okay. With the beta uninstalled, now we should, if we run this, it won't try to run in the beta anymore. It just tries to run in the latest version. Nope, couldn't communicate with Photoshop. Okay, so we might have to rebuild this. Open up Photoshop. The current stable release version, not the beta version. So this is the, as of this recording, the stable release version, of course. There we go. So if I were to open this up and run the action, it may be that I have to rebuild that droplet, which is fine. It's no big deal. Let's open this up, run the action, and see if everything works with the action. If so, we'll just rebuild the template. So here is the action here. And this is basically the action that is in the droplet. So if I just run this, it should go. So it's going to go through the process. You see it's creating layers, runs through some third-party plugins that I have that probably were not set up with the beta version. So adding in a little bit of processing, you can see it's automatically going through this. Oh, it looks like it's not automatically applying it. It should already do that. Maybe I didn't. Oh, because I'm running the action, I didn't have that turned off. That's fine. That's fine. But you can see it's adding just a nice little bit of sharpness to it. Before and after. Just add a nice little bit of detail to that. That's right. So I have it set, this action, again, it's been a little bit, it has that action set to stop on each of these, which is fine. So for a lot of these, like this here, I'm just going to turn it off. I don't really need to remove the noise on that. But I have it run anyway, just in case I do need it, because this is a universal thing that I use across all my images. So it is stopping for each of those because I'm running this instead of using the droplet, which is fine. Okay, now in Luminar, remind me later, that's fine. Okay, so in here is where we can come in and do some enhancements if we want to. Again, I don't always use these. So for this, there's no face, there's no, it's not going to detect any of that. But if we wanted to adjust the skin or do some creative things with the lighting, we can do that. And so I have it pop up for every single image, just in case I wanted to do that. In this case, I love the sky that's in here, so I don't need to change the sky at all. But if we wanted to do that, we could do that very easily here. Go ahead. Oops, it did change it. I don't want to do that. As I was clicking around, cancel that. That's fine. Continue on. Okay, so I canceled from here, so I can just play on from this location here where it stopped because I canceled Luminar. And then from that point, it adds in my frequency separation, my dodge and burn layers. This pulls up off screen. That's fine. Hit OK. Again, I have these stop points. That's what these are here on the action, those stop points, if I want to change it. But now, basically, the end result here is that I get this image that has these layers that I can come in here and make some more significant edits to, but it'll be universal across all the different TIFF files, right? So they're all going to have the same layers if there are things that I need to clean up. If there's not, that's fine, but I like to have it be universal, so all my layers are the same, and I know where to go if I'm going to make any of those edit. So this is a heel layer that gets created. There's nothing on this layer right now. But if I wanted to come in here and add in some heel, switch to my heel tool and, maybe clean up some of these footprints or something like that, I could do that very easily on this layer. And it'll be universal. The layers, at least, will be universal across all of the images. So it looks like this action works here inside of Photoshop. So it seems like the droplet is what's not working. So let's actually move on to our next video. This one's running a little bit long. Let's move on to our next video where we will look at recreating that droplet to be able to run through these very quickly and create our base set of layers very, very quickly using that droplet. So we'll do that in our next video.